Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and thank you for tuning in to Canal Algérie's nightly news. On to the headlines. The President of the Republic, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense Abdelmajid Tebboune chairs a meeting of the High Security Council. Algeria rejects ultimatums and vows to implement immediate reciprocity measures on mobility restrictions enacted by France, calling on the French authorities to assume the full responsibility. Colonial France's crimes resurface among French journalists, comparing the crimes committed in Algeria to Nazi massacres. Welcome back. We begin with tonight's top story as the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense, chaired today a meeting of the High Council of Security. On to this communiqué by the MFA. In the midst of the escalation in tensions that the French side has brought to relations between Algeria and France, Algeria has not initiated any form of rupture but has left the French side alone to bear full responsibility. Algeria has committed itself to calm, moderation and restraint. In doing so, its sole objective was to exercise its rights and assume its duties toward its nationals living in France. French law, bilateral conventions, European law and international law are all on Algeria's side, particularly in matters of consular protection of its nationals. The noted breaches in national and international obligations are the work of the French side, as evidenced by the abusive and arbitrary use of administrative decisions to remove Algerian nationals, depriving them of the use of legal remedies guaranteed to them by the French legislation itself. Algeria, for its part, is attentive to its international positions and remains committed to respecting the entire legal arsenal governing mobility between Algeria and France without selectivity and without misuse of its vocations, as they have been jointly identified by Algeria and France. In the same spirit, Algeria categorically refuses to be addressed with deadlines, warnings and threats, just as it will ensure that reciprocity is strictly and immediately applied to all restrictions on mobility between Algeria and France. Finally, any questioning of the 1968 agreement, which has been emptied of all its substance, will be followed by Algeria by the same questioning of other agreements and protocols of the same nature, without prejudice to other measures that its national interest would dictate it to adopt. Thus, the vengeful and hateful French extreme right will have succeeded in its bet. The Algerian-French relationships that it has taken hostage will have been put at the service of unworthy political purposes. End of the press release. On the sidelines of the 58th session of the UN Human Rights Council, the Secretary General of the MFA, Lounas Magerman, formalized Algeria's membership in the World Coalition for Social Justice, an initiative of the International Labour Organization. This step reflects the country's desire to promote more inclusive and supportive societies through major reforms that demonstrate the determination of the President of the Republic to anchor a model of social and sustainable justice and beyond social issues. Algeria advocated for granting the observer status to Palestine within the ILO, and it's line with a commitment to just causes, a clear positioning on the international scene, which demonstrates a policy focused on equity and multilateralism. In other news, the Minister of Interior, Local Collectivities and Territorial Planning, Brahim Merad, supervised the commemoration activities of the World Civil Defense Day. Merad highlighted the importance of the efforts deployed by the Corps to ensure security of citizens and protection of their properties. The Minister also underlined the crucial role of civil defense teams in the management of crises and catastrophes, that this day is an opportunity to raise awareness of the public of the importance of prevention and the reactivity to emergencies. Brahim Merad also announced that the efforts deployed to reinforce human capacities in this corps persist, with the approval of an important process of recruitment for over 2,200 posts, including officers, non-commissioned officers, and assimilated civilian personnel. This afternoon in the Zawiya Bilqaidiyya Al-Habriya in Iran, the body of the Sheikh of Al-Bilqaidiyya Tariqa or Brotherhood scholar Muhammad Abdul Latif Bilqaid Al-Idrisi Al-Hassani was buried. The funeral was attended by the advisor to the President of the Republic in charge of religious affairs, the President of the Supreme Islamic Council, the Dean of the Grand Mosque of Algiers, the heads of the Quranic schools, the heads of the state authorities and national figures, in addition to a large number of his students. The advisor to the President of the Republic, Mohammed Hassouni, offered the condolences of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, to the family of the deceased and his followers following this great loss. So Algeria lost its matchless figures, a man of knowledge and spiritual tutorship who devoted his lifetime to serve the religion and Algeria's identity, leaving behind him hundreds of scholars and disciples also fully dedicated to abide with the same lofty principles. Salim Mira harks back on the rich career of the Sheikh Mohammed Abdul Latif Bilqaid.
Sheikh Mohammed Abdul Latif Bilqaid, a key figure of the Bilqaidi Al-Hebrew Brotherhood, was a pillar of Sufism in Algeria. Born on October 28, 1937 in Tlemcen, trained from an early age by his father in the religious sciences. He also studied the Holy Quran under the guidance of his uncle. Dedicated to the teaching of the Holy Quran, Sheikh Mohammed Abdul Latif Bilqaid pursued extensive studies in Arabic language and literature under the mentorship of distinguished scholars. A proponent of moderation and non-violence, he founded the Bilqaidiyya Brotherhood in the village of Sidi Ma'ruf Oran, where he resided. The Zawiya became a renowned center for learning, welcoming ulama, doctors and students from across the Muslim world. His commitment to education and spiritual guidance was exemplified by the establishment of the Durus al-Muhammadiyya, or sermons, over 2 decades ago, fostering a tradition of wisdom and moderation. His legacy, rich in knowledge and deeply rooted in tradition, remains a guiding light for those dedicated to preserving Algeria's spiritual and cultural identity.
Indeed, to Allah who belong to him, we shall return. Coming up in our news edition. The Algerian people are getting ready for the month of fasting of Ramadan in line with ancestral traditions and customs. Welcome back. Recognizing the genocide committed in Algeria by colonial France means putting an end to decades of denial. Recently, different journalists reopened this debate comparing colonial crimes in Algeria to crimes committed by Nazis in France in 1944. Further details with Manan Mafou.
Ce que nous avons fait, nous, en Algérie, vous savez, chaque année...
Every year in France, we commemorate what happened in Oradour-sur-Glane, the massacre of the entire village, but we did hundreds of those in Algeria. Are we even aware of that?
Like a mirror held up to France, forcing it to confront its reflection. Acknowledging colonial crimes against humanity means recognizing them as a reality. The Nazis didn't exist yet. They behaved like us. We did it first in Algeria. Telling the truth and in return facing the wrath of the right-wing opinion machine led by 24-hour news channels that shape the public discourse in France, when the executioner puts on the judge's robe and condemns the one who speaks the truth that defines the state of public debate in a country unable of confronting its past. Do you know the details of the conquest of Algeria? You don't know the history at all. You have no idea that villagers fled as French soldiers advanced.
Mais vous ne la connaissez pas du tout. Vous ne savez pas du tout que les villageois fuyaient les colonnes des soldats français.
This analyst of French politics, a regular presence on television and radio, has seemingly opened Pandora's box. Since his remarks, he has been the target of a fierce smear campaign for simply telling the truth. Talk shows have turned into battlegrounds where voices defending the facts struggle to be heard, constantly interrupted thwarted and made to feel guilty. Entire populations were trapped in caves and asphyxiated by the smoke of fires. And let me end with May 8, 1954, the massacre of Sirif. That's where I will conclude my statement.
Monsieur Apathy, justement, se trompe. C'est pas des centaines de villages, c'est des milliers.
It was not hundreds of villages, it was thousands of villages. I have the privilege of leading the High Commission for African Diasporas in France, an organization representing the largest African diaspora communities in the country, including a significant Algerian community. I know exactly what I am talking about. It was thousands of villages that were massacred.
Des centaines, mais des milliers de villages qui ont été massacrés.
As tensions with Algeria grow, the facts remain stubborn. Now backed by political and media figures, despite efforts by the far right to silence them, some now openly call it the genocide of Algerians by colonial France. Claiming to be a country of human rights, France now reveals its true identity.
Il y a ça dans l'histoire de France.
Recognizing the genocide of Algerians by France is, as I have said already, a matter of deep moral importance to me.
Par la France, je vais dire, pour moi, est un sujet même moralement très important.
For years, a well-oiled machine has sprung into action whenever a truth about colonial France surfaces, amplifying far-right narratives while sidelining factual and moderate voices. In this climate, where Algeria and Algerians have been prime targets for months, the controversy shows no signs of fading, at least for now.
The ex-Liban agreements between Morocco and France still affect the decision-making process in the kingdom, given its secret clauses that jeopardize Morocco's sovereignty. France makes profits of the country's natural resources with a noticeable complicity of the Makhzen regime.
In 1955, the ex-Liban agreements were signed between France and the Makhzen. Following this agreement, Morocco benefited from a semblance of independence with the consecration of French colonialism, both economic and political. Following these agreements, France seized Morocco's wealth under difficult conditions, dictating its own policies to the detriment of Moroccans forced to leave. Moroccan historians have not spoken much about the ex-Liban talks because voices are silenced. We have not yet gained our independence. Our lands are being plundered. The announced clauses of these agreements remain in force to this day. Morocco's wealth, such as phosphate, gold, silver and water resources, have been sold off to the benefit of France, which monopolizes almost all of this wealth. The rest goes to the Moroccan monarchy. To date, 60% of phosphate revenues go to France. Ex-Liban were not simple agreements, but much more than that. A new colonialism in roundabout forms that France strives to preserve by openly controlling the economy of Morocco, its basic infrastructure, with the complicity of the Makhzen.
Famous for its premium quality spices every year, Biskra province becomes the destination for Algerians from 58 provinces. Spice vendors are in full swing as customers flock to their shops ahead of the blessed month of Ramadan, especially for Ras Al Hanout leading demand. Manal Maafa with more.
2 days before Ramadan, spice vendors are overwhelmed as shoppers stock up on essential condiments for this blessed month. Beyond cumin, black pepper, paprika and cinnamon, the undisputed star is Ras Al Hanout, the queen of spices, made from no fewer than 13 different ingredients. Here in Biskra, spices are very sought after, especially Ras Al Hanout, which has a very special taste. I have a small budget today. I will buy Ras Al Hanout, paprika, freak, and that's all. I bought spices for white and red sauces for 1,500 dinars. During this period, spice vendors see a surge in sales, making up to 70% of their annual revenue. Known for its high-quality spices, Biskra remains a top destination for buyers seeking the best condiments. I came here all the way from Hassi Mas'ud province to buy spices which I will use during this month of Ramadan. Bustling with activity, the markets are home to most spice vendors offering a vast selection of condiments. Some, like hot chili, coriander, and ras al-hanout, are locally sourced and renowned for their exceptional quality.
That's the end of our news. Thank you for watching. Take care.